Maria Lopez had always believed that hard work and honesty could protect a person. She woke up before sunrise, cleaned hospital floors during the day, worked late-night shifts at a small diner, and returned home exhausted but smiling. Her apartment was small, old, and overlooked a brick wall, but inside it lived warmth. Her mother, Rosa, cooked simple meals despite her aching joints, and her 9-year-old son, Daniel, filled the rooms with laughter and dreams of becoming an astronaut. Money was tight, but love made the place feel rich. Maria never imagined how easily that peace could be taken away. One evening, she came home to find a notice taped to the door. Eviction, 14 days. Her hands trembled as she read it again and again. There had to be a mistake. Her rent was always paid. The next morning, she rushed to the apartment office, but the clerk barely looked at her and said the owner had decided to clear the building for renovations. When Maria asked who the owner was, the answer came cold and simple: Richard Halston. Richard Halston was a powerful real estate developer, praised by the city as a visionary. To him, buildings were investments and people were problems. Maria waited hours in his sleek office, surrounded by glass walls and polished marble floors. When she finally spoke, she didn't beg for charity, she asked for time. She explained her mother's illness and her son's schooling. Richard smiled faintly and told her that emotions had no place in business. He slid the eviction papers across the desk. Maria noticed the forged signatures and incorrect dates. When she said the documents were illegal, his expression hardened. Security escorted her out. That was the moment Maria realized the system did not protect the quiet or the poor. 2 weeks later, they were gone. Temporary shelters replaced their home. Rosa's health worsened under the stress. Hospital visits became routine. Daniel stopped laughing and began waking up at night in silence, staring at the walls, as if trying to understand what had gone wrong. Maria blamed herself for not fighting harder. Then one night, the hospital called. Rosa had died from stress-induced heart failure. Maria sank to the floor holding the phone, unable to cry. Something inside her broke forever. After the funeral, Maria stood outside the building that had once been her home. Large posters announced luxury condos coming soon. In that moment, she made a decision. If the system had destroyed her family, she would learn to use that same system to take everything back. Not with rage, not with noise, with patience. She quit her diner job and joined a cleaning agency that serviced corporate offices. Months later, fate, or planning, placed her inside Halston Development Group. Maria kept her head down and her voice low. She became invisible. At night, she photographed documents, captured emails, and recorded conversations from empty boardrooms. She discovered everything: illegal evictions, bribes to city officials, fake safety reports, money funneled through shell companies. She saved every detail. Months turned into years. At home, after long shifts, Maria studied online law courses and financial crime cases. She learned whistleblower protections and federal procedures. She was no longer driven by anger alone. She was prepared. Daniel grew older, watching his mother endure without giving up. She taught him one lesson above all others: being weak is not the same as being quiet. The moment came when the city announced a public council hearing for Halston's biggest development project yet. Media cameras filled the room. Politicians smiled for attention. Maria submitted a simple envelope. Inside were years of evidence: bank records, audio files, proof of illegal evictions, bribe trails. On top was a single note: "You destroyed families. Now face the truth." The collapse was swift. Federal investigations followed. News headlines spread across the city. Richard Halston's accounts were frozen. His partners disappeared. City officials were arrested. The man who once ruled the skyline now stood alone outside a courthouse, hands shaking, reputation in ruins. Maria walked past the courthouse holding her son's hand. Richard recognized her and tried to speak, but no words came. Maria stopped only once and said calmly that he had taken her family, and she had only returned the truth. Then she walked away. Daniel looked up at her and asked if they had won. Maria squeezed his hand and said they were still standing, and that was enough. People say revenge is blind, but that isn't always true. Sometimes it watches quietly, learns carefully, and strikes through the law. Maria didn't steal anything. She reclaimed what had been taken from her, silently, completely, and forever.